At the heart of the governance arrangements in any company is a simple question. Who gets a say in what happens in the company? And that's a bloody important question. So the composition of the board matters a lot. They get to hire and fire the CEO, make decisions on raising money, and the board vote ultimately decides on key decisions like selling the company and other major corporate actions. So as a founder, it's important not to ignore the governance arrangements in the term sheet and focus only on the economic ones. That will certainly come back to bite you. How the board is configured will differ from one company to another, and there's a lot of discretion that's available. Typically, most boards will have an odd number of directors, let's say 3 or 5, so any deadlocks can be broken by way of a vote. If there are multiple investors in a startup, often there'll be a board position for the lead investor who will be responsible for negotiating the final terms of the term sheet with the company. A director's seat is obviously reserved for the CEO. Now, it's important that in most term sheets, there's a distinction between the CEO and the founder. And in most term sheets today, if the founder, who happens to be the CEO, is fired or he quits, they lose their board seat. This is to prevent the former CEO ruling from the grave or influencing what's called dead hand control. Often other director seats will be reserved for preference share investors, and good corporate governance today basically endorses an independent director's seat. Remember, a board is likely to evolve as a startup goes through subsequent funding rounds, and any configuration is allowed. Ultimately, what the board will look like will be a function of the negotiating positions of each of the parties. Because often one or more general partners may sit on the board of a startup that's been invested in, professional indemnity insurance will be purchased to cover these directors by the investing fund. In America, they call this directors and officers insurance. In some instances, as an extra security measure, the startup itself will also purchase professional indemnity insurance for directors, so they can be doubly covered in that respect.